Welcome back to another challenge. I don't know if you call this a challenge or not, because as you can see, I am going to be reading the entire rules of Monopoly in one sitting. This should be nothing to me. This is going to be more like a test than anything, and to help warm me up for what's coming, because I have some genuine, challenges ahead of me. So this will be a nice practice. Um, don't ask, okay? Please don't ask. Just accept the fact that I am doing this. And I don't think this is full on suffering yet. Maybe if it took multiple hours, then it would be. But this should take no more than 20 minutes tops. Um, and to keep things interesting, I'm going to be skipping one word, and the first person to comment down below what word I skip over is going to be getting a prize. Your comment is going to get pinned, and I'll follow you back on whatever social media you have. Alright? Um, so without further ado, Monopoly Property Trading game from Parker Brothers, ages 8 plus, 2 to 8 players. Contents: game board, 3 dice, tokens, 32 houses, 12 hotels, chance and community chest cards, title, deed cards, play money and banker's tray, and a banker's tray. It's probably worth noting, I don't have dyslexia, but I think I have a very, very minor case of dyslexia. So watching me read this is going to be a spectacle within itself. Now there's a faster way to play Monopoly. Choose to play by the classic rules for buying, renting and selling properties, or use the speed die to get into the action faster. If you've never played the classic Monopoly game, refer to the classic rules beginning on the next page. If you already know how to play and want to use the speed die, just read the section below for the additional speed die rules. Speed die rules: learning how to play with the speed die is as fast as playing with it. When starting the game, hand out an extra $1,000 to each player. 2 500s should work. The game moves fast and you'll need the extra cash to buy and build. Do not use the speed die until you've landed on or passed over go for the first time. Once you collect that first $200 salary, you'll use the speed die for the rest of the game. This means that some players will start using the die before others. Once you start using the speed die, roll it along with the 2 white die on your turn. Then do the following depending on what you rolled: 1, 2, or 3. Add this number to the roll of the 2 white die. You'll zoom around the board. Thus, this lets you get off the bus early. Look at the 2 white die. You can move the value of one of the die, the other die, or sum of both die. So if you rolled a 1 and a 5, you can move 1 space, 5 spaces, or 6 spaces. It's your choice. Mr. Monopoly: first move the sum of the 2 white die and resolve the space you land on, such as a drawing card, buying the property, paying rent, etc. Then one of 2 things will happen depending on whether or not there is still property in the bank. Yes, there is property in the bank. Advance to the next property that the bank still holds and buy it if you wish. If you don't want to buy this property, move to the space anyway, and put the property up for auction. Though there are no more properties in the bank, advance the next property on which you will owe another player money. A few minor details: only the white dice are used when determining if you roll doubles. Do not look at the speed die. If you rolled a 3 of a kind, all of the dice show the same number. You can move anywhere you want on the board. If you get sent to jail during your move, either by landing on the go to jail space or by rolling doubles 3 times in a row, then your turn is over and you do not get to use the speed die for that turn. Use the white dice only when rolling to get out of jail. Use the sum of all three dice when determining how much to pay on a utility. Note the Thus and Mr. Monopoly are valued at 0. Classic Monopoly rules. The object of the game is to become the wealthiest player through buying, renting, and selling property. Preparation: place the board on a table and put the chance and community chest cards face down on their allotted spaces on the board. Each player chooses one token to represent him or her while traveling around the board. Each player is given $1,500 divided as follows: 2 each of 500s, 100s, and 50s, 6 20s, 5 each of 10s, 5s, and 1s. All remaining money and other equipment go to the bank. Stack the bank's money on edge in the compartments in the plastic banker's tray. Bankers select as banker a player who will also make a good auctioneer. A banker who plays in the game must also keep his or her personal funds separate from those of the bank. When more than 5 persons play, the banker may elect to act only as a banker and auctioneer. The bank, besides the bank's money, the bank holds the title deed cards and houses and hotels prior to purchase and use by the players. The bank pays salaries and bonuses. It sells and auctions properties and hands out their proper title deed cards. It sells houses and hotels to the players and loans money when required on mortgages. I don't know how to say that. Mortgages, I think. I'm dumb, I don't know, I'm sorry. The bank collects all taxes, fines, loans, and interest, and the price of all properties which it sells in auctions. The bank never goes broke. If the bank runs out of money, the banker may issue as much more as needed by writing on an ordinary paper. The play, starting with the banker, each player in turn throws the dice. The player with the highest total starts the play. Place your token on the corner marked Go. Throw the dice and move your token in the direction of the arrow. And move your token in the direction of the arrow, the number of spaces indicated by the dice. I think that's right. After you have completed your play, the turn passes to the left. The tokens remain on the spaces occupied and proceed from that point on the player's next turn. 2 or more tokens may rest on the same space at the same time. According to the space your token reaches, you may be entitled to buy real estate or other properties, or obliged to pay rent, pay taxes, draw a chance or community chest card, go to jail, etc. This is tedious. If you throw doubles, you move your token as usual, the sum of 2 dice, and are subjected to any privileges or penalties pertaining to the space on which you land. Retaining the dice, throw again, and move your token as before. If you throw doubles 3 times in succession, move your token immediately to the space marked in jail. See jail. Go. Each time a player's token lands on or passes over Go, whether by throwing the dice or drawing a card, the banker pays him her $200 salary. The $200 is paid only once each time around the board. However, if a player passing Go on the throw of the dice lands 2 spaces beyond it on community chest, or 7 spaces beyond it on chance, and draws the advance to Go card, she collects $200 for passing Go the first time, and another $200 for reaching it the second time by instructions on the card. Buying property. Wherever you land on an unknown property, you may buy that property from the bank at its credited price. You receive the title deed card showing ownership. Place it face up in front of you. If you do not wish to buy the property, the banker sells it at auction. to the highest bidder. The buyer pays the bank the amount of the bid in cash and receives the title deed card for that property. Any player, including the one who declined the option to buy it at the printed price, may bid. Bidding may start at any price. Paying rent. When you land on property owned by another player, the owner collects rent from you in accordance with the list printed on its title deed card. The property is mortgaged, no rent can be collected. When a property is mortgaged, its title deed card is placed face down in front of the owner. It is an advantage to hold all the title deed cards in a color group, e.g. Boardwalk or Connecticut, Vermont, and Oriental Avenues, because the owner may then charge double rent for unimproved properties in that color group. This rule applies to unmortgaged properties, even if another property in that color group is mortgaged. It is even more advantageous to have houses or hotels on properties because rents are much higher than for unimproved properties. The owner may not collect the rent if she fails to ask for it before the second player following throws the dice. Chance and community chest. When you land on either of these spaces, take the top card from the deck indicated, follow the instructions, and return the card face down to the bottom of the deck. The get out of jail free card is held until used and then returned to the bottom of the deck. If the player who draws it does not wish to use it, she may sell it at any time to another player at a price agreeable to both. Income tax. If you land here, you have two options. You may estimate your tax at $200 and pay the bank, or you may pay 10% of your total worth to the bank. Your total worth is all your cash on hand, printed prices of mortgaged and unmortgaged properties, and cost price of all buildings you own. You must decide which option you will take before you add up your total worth. I almost ran out of breath. Jail. You land in jail when 1. Your token lands on the space marked go to jail. 2. You draw a card marked go to jail. Or 3. You throw doubles 3 times in succession. When you are sent to jail, you cannot collect your $200 salary in that move since, regardless of where your token is on the board. You must move it directly into jail. Your turn ends when you are sent to jail. If you are not sent to jail but in the ordinary course of play, land on that space you are just visiting, you incur no penalty, and you move ahead in the usual manner on your next turn. You get out of jail by 1. Throwing doubles on any of your next 3 turns. If you succeed in doing this, you immediately move forward the number of spaces shown by your doubles throw. Even though you have thrown doubles, you do not take another turn. 2. Using the get out of jail free card if you have it. 3. Purchasing the get out of jail free card from another player and playing it. Or 4. Paying a fine of $50 before you roll the dice on either of your next few turns. If you do not throw doubles by your 3rd turn, you must pay the $50 fine. You then get out of jail. You then get out of jail and immediately move forward the number of spaces shown by your throw. Even if you are in jail, you may buy and sell property, buy and sell houses and hotels, and collect rents. Free parking. A player landing on this place does not receive any money, property, or reward of any kind. This is just a free vesting place. Houses. When you own all the properties in a color group, you may buy houses from the bank and erect them on those properties. If you buy one house, you may pull it on any one of those properties. The next house you the next the next house you buy the next house you buy must be erected on one of the unimproved properties of this or any complete color group you may own. The price you must pay the bank for each house is shown on your title deed card for the property on which you erect the house. The owner still collects double rent from an opponent who lands on the unimproved properties of his/her complete color group. Following the above rules, you may buy and erect at any time as many houses as your judgment and financial standing will allow. But you must build evenly, i.e. you cannot erect more than one house on any one property of any color group until you have built one house on every property of that group. That makes no sense to me. You may then begin on the second row of houses and so on, up to a limit of 4 houses to a property. For example, you cannot build 3 houses on one property if you have only one house on another property of that group. As you build evenly, you must also break down evenly if you sell houses back to the bank. See selling property. Houses. When a player has 4 houses on each property of a complete color group, she may buy a hotel from the bank and erect it to I cannot read today, and erect it on any property of the color group. She returns the 4 houses from that property to the bank and pays the price of the hotel as shown on the title deed card. Only one hotel may be erected on any one property. Building shortages. When the bank has no houses to sell, players wishing to build must wait for some player to return or sell his/her houses to the bank before building. If there are a limited number of houses and hotels available, and 2 or more players wish to buy more than the bank has, the houses or hotels must be sold at auction to the biggest bidder. Selling property. Unimproved properties, railroads, and utilities, but not buildings, may be sold to any player as a private transaction for any amount the owner can get. However, no property can be sold to another player if buildings are standing on any properties of that color group. Any building so located must be sold back to the bank before the owner can sell any property of that color group. Houses and hotels may be sold back to the bank at any time for 1/2 the price paid for them. All houses on one color group must be sold one by one, evenly in reverse of the manner in which they were erected. All hotels, why can't I read? What is wrong with me? All hotels on one color group may be sold at once, or they may be sold one house at a time. One hotel equals 5 houses, evenly in reverse of the manner in which they were erected. Mortgages. Unimproved properties can be mortgaged through the bank at any time. Before an improved property can be mortgaged, all the buildings on the properties of its color group must be sold back to the bank at half the price. The mortgage value is printed on each title deed card. No rent can be collected on mortgaged properties or utilities, but rent can be collected on unmortgaged properties in the same group. In order to lift the mortgage, the owner must pay the bank the amount of the mortgage plus 10% interest. When all the properties of a color group are no longer mortgaged, the owner may begin to buy back houses at a full price. The player who mortgages property retains possession of it, and no other player may secure it by lifting the mortgage from the bank. However, the owner may sell this mortgaged property to another player at any agreed price. If you are the new owner, you may lift the mortgage at once if you wish paying if you wish by paying off the mortgage plus 10% interest to the bank. If the mortgage is not lifted at once, you must pay the bank 10% interest when you buy the property, and if you lift the mortgage later, you must pay the bank an additional 10%, as well as the amount of the mortgage. Oh my gosh. I'm just humiliating myself at this point. Bankruptcy. You are declared bankrupt if you owe more than you can pay either to another player or to the bank. If your debt is closer to another player, you must turn over to that player all that you have of value and retire from the game. In making the settlement, if you own houses or hotels, you must return these to the bank in exchange for money to the extent of 1/2 of the amount paid for them. This cash is given to the creditor. If you have mortgaged property, you also turn this property over to your creditor, but the new owner must at once pay the bank the amount of interest on the loan, which is 10% of the value of the property. The new owner who does this may then, at his or her option, pay the principal or hold the property until some later turn, then lift the mortgage. If she holds property in this way until a later turn, she must pay the interest again upon lifting the mortgage. Should you owe the bank, instead of another player, more than you can pay because of taxes or penalties, even by selling off buildings and mortgaging property, you must turn over all assets to the bank. In this case, the bank immediately sells by auction all property so taken except buildings. A bankrupt player must immediately retire from the game. The last player left in the game wins. Miscellaneous. I think that's how you say that. I don't know. Money can be loaned to a player only by the bank, and then only by mortgaging property. No player may borrow from. Oh my gosh, what is going on? I'm not like this ever. No player may borrow from or lend money to another player. I think that's it. We will be happy to hear your questions or comments about this game. Write to Hasbro Games, Consumer Affairs Department, P.O. Box 200, Pawtucket, Rhode Island maybe, 02862 tell 888-836-7025. Toll-free Canadian consumers, please write to Hasbro Canada Corporation, 2350 Selva Province, Longwheel, QC Canada, J4G 1G2. The Hasbro, Parker Brothers, and Monopoly names and logos, the distinctive design of the game board and four corner squares, the Mr. Monopoly name and character in each of the distinctive elements of the board are rules and rules are trademarks of Hasbro for its property, trading game, and game equipment. Copyright 2004-2007 Hasbro, Pawtucket, Rhode Island, 02862. All rights reserved, trademark, and I don't know what that R means. Denote U.S. trademarks 0000009 dash. I can't tell if that's an I or a 1. Monopoly.com. The game board right here, the Hasbro logo. Proof of purchase, Parker Brothers. 00009 Monopoly. Well, that was a lot harder than it needed to be. I said I wasn't dyslexic, but man, maybe I am after that. Well, I'm not fully wiped out like I normally am at the end of some of those 10-hour challenges. But this definitely took some stuff out of me, not a whole lot. But yeah, that's just a preview of what's coming and what's to come. Because later on in the year, like spring and summer, oh man, it's gonna get miserable when it comes to reading stuff. Um, all I can say is comment down below if you caught what I intentionally skipped over. You'll be rewarded with a pinned comment and a follow back on whatever social media you want or you have. And 2026, we're going crazy all year. It's all gas, no brakes this year. And without further ado, I think it's time to say goodbye and see you next time. I don't know when next time is, maybe next week. I might go back to another 10-hour challenge, who knows, but yeah, I guess I'll see you for now. Thanks for watching. Please hit the like button if you made it to the end, and hit subscribe. It would mean so much more than you know. It would also help me out a ton, and yeah.